The rain came down in sheets that night, each drop like ice needles stabbing through my thin jacket. I stood on the curb, suitcase handle cutting into my palm, water streaming off my hair and mixing with the tears I couldn't hold back anymore. 20 years old, and my own father had just slammed the door in my face. "Get out, Ava," he'd shouted, voice cracking like thunder. Behind him, my stepmother crossed her arms, lips pressed into that tight, satisfied line I'd grown to hate. The fight had started over nothing, me asking why he never talked about Mom anymore, why every photo of her had disappeared from the living room. But it wasn't nothing to him, it was everything he wanted to forget. "You're just like her," he'd spat. "And I can't look at you anymore." The lock clicked. The porch light went dark. I walked for hours, suitcase wheels splashing through puddles, until my legs gave out under a bus shelter. My phone was dead. My bank account held $43. Mom had died when I was 10 cancer. Fast and cruel. Dad had grieved for a while, then remarried within 2 years. The new wife moved in like she owned the place, and slowly Dad stopped seeing me. I became a ghost in my own home. Now I was a ghost on the street. 3 nights later, I was scrolling job boards on a library computer when the listing popped up. Fixer. Upper Victorian. Needs work. $1. Serious buyers only. $1. I laughed at first, thinking it was a joke. But the address was 2 hours north, in the old neighborhood where Mom used to take me for ice cream. The photos showed peeling paint, broken windows, and a front porch sagging like it was tired of standing. The description said, "Back taxes, owner long gone." I stared at the screen until the librarian told me the library was closing. I borrowed bus fare from a kind stranger, rode through the night, and stood in front of the house at dawn. Vines choked the gutters. The front door hung crooked on one hinge, but when I stepped inside, something shifted in my chest like the house had been waiting. I signed the paperwork that same afternoon with the last of my money and a promise to the county I'd make it livable. No one else wanted it. Everyone said it was haunted. I didn't care. It was mine. The first week was pure survival. I swept mouse droppings, nailed cardboard over broken windows, and slept on the floor in a sleeping bag that smelled of mildew. At night, the wind howled through the cracks, and the old floors creaked like footsteps. I told myself it was just the house settling. But sometimes I'd wake to the faint scent of lilacs, Mom's favorite flower, and my heart would squeeze so tight I couldn't breathe. I started fixing things with whatever I could scavenge. I patched the kitchen roof with tarps I found in the shed. I scrubbed layers of grime off the hardwood until my knuckles bled. One afternoon, while prying up a loose floorboard in the living room to check for rot, I found a small metal box. Inside were yellowed letters tied with a faded blue ribbon. The handwriting was my father's younger, softer. "To my love on our first night in this house." My hands started shaking. I read every word, tears blurring the ink. Dad had written about the day he first saw Mom standing on this very porch, laughing at some silly joke he'd made. How he knew, right then. She was the one. They had rented the place for 6 months, when they were barely 20 themselves, broke, in love, dreaming of forever. He'd carved their initials inside the closet door upstairs. D+E, forever. I climbed the stairs that evening, flashlight trembling. There they were, deep in the wood, hard around them. I ran my fingers over the letters and whispered, "Mom?" The house answered with a soft sigh of wind. More clues came every day. A faded photo tucked behind the bathroom mirror, Mom and Dad, so young, sitting on the same porch swing that now lay broken in the yard. A journal page slipped between the wall and the stair railing. Mom had written about the night Dad proposed right here in the kitchen, kneeling on the cracked linoleum with a ring he bought with his last paycheck. "This house holds our beginning," she wrote. "I hope one day our daughter feels that same magic here." I cried until my chest hurt. Why had Dad never told me? Why sell this place after Mom died and never speak of it again? Every night the noises grew louder, drawers opening, soft laughter echoing down the hall. I wasn't scared anymore. I felt held. Then came the night everything shattered. I was in the attic, sorting through boxes, when I found the final envelope. It was addressed to me, in Dad's handwriting, dated only 3 months ago. My fingers tore it open. "Ava, if you're reading this, You found the house. I bought it back quietly after your mother passed. I couldn't live here without her, but I couldn't let it go either. I listed it for $1, hoping, praying, that one day you'd need it the way we once did. The fight. The things I said they were unforgivable. Your stepmother pushed me, said I had to choose. I chose wrong. I've been watching from afar, terrified you'd never forgive me. This house was where I fell in love with your mother. Now it's where I hope you can forgive your father. My knees buckled. I sat among the dust and old love letters, sobbing so hard the walls seemed to tremble with me. The front door creaked open downstairs. Heavy footsteps on the porch. I froze, clutching the letter. Ava? His voice raw, broken. I walked down slowly, letter in my hand. Dad stood in the doorway, rain dripping from his coat, eyes red. He looked 10 years older. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then, he saw the letter and his shoulders caved in. I never forgot you, he whispered. I just forgot how to live without her, and I made you pay for it. I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to run. Instead, I stepped forward and placed the letter in his palm. This house remembered for both of us. He pulled me into his arms, the first hug in 2 years, and we cried together on the dusty floor while the wind outside finally quieted. We spent the next months fixing the house side by side. Dad moved out of the big house with my stepmother. The marriage had already been crumbling. He sold it and used the money to buy new windows, a real roof, and paint the porch the soft yellow Mom always loved. We planted lilacs along the walkway. On quiet evenings, we sat on the repaired swing, talking about her, laughing at memories I thought I'd lost forever. The house didn't feel haunted anymore. It felt alive, warm, full of beginnings. Sometimes I still wake to the faint scent of lilacs and the soft creak of footsteps. But now I smile, because I know it's not a ghost. It's love, stubborn, patient, waiting in the walls, reminding me that even when everything is taken, a home can find you again. And sometimes, the place where your parents first fell in love becomes the place where you learn how to forgive and how to start over. We spent the next months fixing the house side by side. Dad moved out of the big house with my stepmother. The marriage had already been crumbling. He sold it and used the money to buy new windows, a real roof, and paint the porch the soft yellow Mom always loved. We planted lilacs along the walkway. On quiet evenings, we sat on the repaired swing, talking about her, laughing at memories I thought I'd lost forever. The house didn't feel haunted anymore. It felt alive, warm, full of beginnings. Sometimes I still wake to the faint scent of lilacs and the soft creak of footsteps. But now I smile, because I know it's not a ghost. It's love, stubborn, patient, waiting in the walls, reminding me that even when everything is taken, a home can find you again. And sometimes, the place where your parents first fell in love becomes the place where you learn how to forgive and how to start over.